Welcome to the Creative Island Podcast.
A show aimed at helping creative individuals transform their passion into profession.
Each episode will share powerful strategies, tips, and practical tools to empower you to create the income, the lifestyle, and the legacy you were designed for.
We are your hosts, Adam Bowman
and Jason Pepper.
Enjoy the show. Greetings, artists, filmmakers, comedians, all of which of the sort. We are Creative Island Podcast. This is episode 3. We are really excited for this one. We got a good episode in store. Jay, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to figure out how to find your niche.
Big one.
It's super important in the marketplace. There's lots of guys doing what you're doing, or girls,
People.
They're out there doing it. You have to differentiate yourself enough so you can, get some traction, and kind of merge and kind of get ahead of these people, right?
Yeah, and it's like when you're in a bubble, like before I went to film school, I was in this bubble and I was like, man, I'm the only one in the city doing film stuff. I'm the only one doing this sort of thing. Once you sort of get out of that bubble, you learn that almost every industry, every avenue of art or even work or business is saturated to the nines right now because everyone has dreams and goals that are very similar to yours. And incorporating a niche into your sort of business or like discipline of art can really, really set you aside from, or differentiate yourself from some of the competitors you have.
Absolutely. And one note I do want to point out, I always encourage the abundance mindset. Like, we're all complementary to each other. All these businesses competing in the marketplace, we are competing, but there's a lot of customers, there's a lot of ideas. Try to focus on the abundance side more than the scarcity, because there's a lot out there and you don't want to pigeonhole yourself to thinking that, there's not enough or not enough for me, or like, I'm not going to get any more customers. There's no more customers. I'm losing them to my competitors. There's always another customer. There's always a new product that you can sell to a new audience. So I want to talk about the 3 levers in business. When you're in a small business particularly, there's really only a few levers you have to kind of change your results, right? One is you can increase your costs, or your what you charge.
Okay.
So you can increase, your whatever. If you're a film producer, you can increase your rates, or if you're an artist, a band, you can increase the amount of, whatever you charge for a stage performance or something like that. Now, or 2, the other lever is you can decrease your expenses. So you can really, contract things down. You can eliminate unnecessary stuff or things that are just costing too much relative to the benefit. Mm-hmm. But this is a hard one because there's fixed costs.
Yeah.
You can really only go so low. And, to be honest, it's always easier to make an additional, $5,000 than it is to try to cut,
$5,000
out of expenses, right? So, and then the third lever is just increase the number of customers, which is the easiest of the 3 to do. So I never, you have to increase your costs over time, what you charge, and decreasing expenditures can work as well. But really the most common one that most, artists, freelancers, comedians, just get in front of more people.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the easiest way to change the results in your business.
And what does that look like? Cold calling, like what does getting in front of more people look like in the long run?
Well, basically what that means is you have to just get in front of, you're in showbiz. You've got to perform. And every day you're not performing, essentially your business is shut down. So you need to be on podcasts, you need to be, on social media. A lot of people have huge reaches on social media. You should be leveraging that. There's lots of people there that want to consume your content, buy your music, buy your products, like whatever that looks like, right? And don't forget, if you're a musician, you've got products and services.
For sure.
Your streaming's a service. Your products, your records, your merchandise, that's your business. Those are the things you're selling. And people want to buy your stuff. When you're out there, it's a numbers game. Get in front of more people, get more sales. That's how it goes.
Bada bing, bada boom. Easy as that.
Talk to artists all the time. Like, how many shows do you have this month? Oh, I have like 1 or 2.
It's like, dude.
How many people did you perform in front of last month? Oh, like 200. Like, man, you need to do like 200 a day.
Yeah.
Well, what does that look like? Well, maybe a podcast has a reach of 500 people. You're on 1 a week or 2 a week. You can do a show for, 300 people a couple of times a month, or you jump on a band, you be the opening act for a band. You try to find these people and ride their coattails. Just count the number of people you're performing in front of every week. So that's probably the easiest way to do it. You got to grind.
For sure. That's huge. That's huge, man. And it's like, just create these other baskets you can put eggs in, you know? If you only have one basket, you know, all your eggs are in that one, and you're not seeing what's out there. If you have 5, 6, 7, 10 baskets, you just have more eggs. You know, you have more capacity to succeed in the long run.
Absolutely. Totally. So we want to talk about niche today, and like, basically,
what is a niche, Jay?
What is a niche? Good question. Basically, a niche is a specialization in the marketplace. You know, you're out there, whether you're a band, you're an actor, you're a comedian, you need to differentiate yourself from other people. You need to find your niche, right? So the niche is kind of where people, you know, rise to fame. You find your thing. Well, I'm an actor that does like rom-com, like
whatever
style films. And like, that's my thing. Okay, fine. You know, but you can niche really far down. I'll give you an example in a second. But basically, there are 3 types of businesses in the marketplace, and this works for everything. I'll use a personal trainer as an example just to get my point across, but it works for a band, it works for a comedian, it works for an actor, it works for a film producer, it works for a freelancer. Doesn't matter. It all translates down the line. So there are 3 businesses in the marketplace. There are the Me Too businesses, which are, and I'll use my personal trainer analogy. I'm a personal trainer. Me too. Me too.
I'm a plumber. Me too.
Me too. Right. So with a Me Too business, you've got no chance of winning business unless you discount your price.
And you just do the typical things to out your competitors, which is just sort of the bottom tier, bottom feeding sort of thing you can do, right?
Exactly. Like your biggest competitive advantage is the fact that you like the lowest bidder gets the job. This is not where you want to be in your field.
And let me tell you, I was there. I was the $100 video guy in second year of college. I was doing real estate. Absolutely hated it. Resented the work. And then once you start resenting your work, you look at your self-value and you think you're worthless. And then it's very, very, very hard to get out of that when you're just like, oh, I do real estate. Me too. I do, live music recordings. Oh, me too. It's just that it's not breaking out into a niche at all.
It's not specific enough. It's not specialized enough. And maybe after we can share a story about how you got out of the Me Too.
For sure.
And, and had some traction there. So there's Me Too. You don't want to be there. The next business in the marketplace is the Me Special.
Me Special.
So again, back to the personal trainer. This is like, hey, I'm a personal trainer that only works with professional athletes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So you specify a little bit more, right? You narrow down your customer a little bit further. It's still fairly vague, and you're still competing on price, to some degree, right? Like regardless of it, you're not, there's still a group of people in the marketplace that you're competing against, and eventually it's going to come down to price.
And would you say from that Me Too pool to the Me Too special, like how many, would you say there's it's breaking it in half the amount of people are in that pool, or is it not really a metric that you can sort of?
Good question. I have no idea. Because it's different for everything. For like actors, it would be different. For plumbers, it would be different. Like, I don't know what how many specialized personal trainers are there relative to just basic personal trainers? Tons. I don't know how to divide that up. But anyway, and the last category is me only.
Me only.
And the me only space is where you've defined your specialization so specific that you're the only guy in the marketplace.
Love that.
You don't have to, you set the price. You're the guy setting the price. So for example, back to the personal trainer, I'm a personal trainer that only trains high-level corporate executives on their private jets between meetings.
Very, very, very
specific. $10,000 an hour type. There's nobody out there.
And works 3 days a week, maybe once a week.
Whatever. Yeah. Probably catches one guy from New York to Chicago, and then another guy back home to New York.
And then maybe New York to LA, a couple of things in LA, comes back.
Whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you want to specialize, and I hope you guys are kind of thinking outside the box for your own profession, because you really want to get to the me only. You want to be the guy setting your own price, setting your own specific niche in whatever lane you're running in, because that's really what's going to set you apart.
For sure, totally. And it's like you can't really start as a me only either. You have to sort of build up to that, I think, and really start as the Me Too and figure out what you're good at, and then build up to the Me Specials, and then sort of see like where the avenues of money are coming from, and really just really refine that niche into the me only within like a couple of years down the line, and you'll be way happier and way more successful.
Yeah, it's production over perfection. Like you don't go straight to me only. I mean, there are businesses that can, but it's a progression, right? You find the Me Too's, you compete on price, you go, this kind of sucks. I need to I kind of want more of those customers because those are sweet customers, but I don't want any more of those customers. And then you get into the special realm, but then you distill things even further and you say, there's certain customers I like, but then, maybe there's certain clauses or conditions or things you don't like about, even a good customer. So you just refine even further. And,
Totally.
You want to get to the me only, be the only guy in the marketplace. And for artists, bands, musicians, you can do this with a lot with branding.
For sure. Totally.
Like
positioning yourself within the market.
Guys, your branding, your marketing is your messaging. It's who you are. It's the story of your profession.
Yeah, exactly.
It's your band. It's who you are as an actor or whatever it is. Your branding's your messaging, and you got to get that really crystal clear on who it is you're targeting, the types of people that want to consume your content or consume your music or buy your products and services. And so define your audience and refine. That's a never-ending thing, by the way.
Sure, totally.
That never ends. Even when you write a record and a bunch of people like that record, and then you write a new record, and all of a sudden, you lose audiences from your first record, and they don't follow the direction of the music, but then you get new audiences.
Yeah.
You're constantly refining, and you want to refine your products and your services, because that can make you me only as well. Like, you want to make sure that the things you're selling are different.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, you can only differentiate so much with a lot of things. Like, if you're selling merch, you're not going to you're selling t-shirts and hats.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, you're not going to be making shoes or something.
Yeah, no, totally. Or doing big collaborations with Adidas or Nike or something.
Yeah, exactly. But that's, so you want to get your products and services really clear. You want to get on streaming platforms, and you want to be like, a lot of the other businesses, but your branding is really going to kind of take things to the next level.
Yeah. And it's just like, again, like you don't have to start at the me only. You don't have to completely brand yourself and put yourself into a box in the beginning. It's figure out where that box lies and how you can fit into it, and then fucking break out of that box in the end, and then sort of just strive and see how you can really just refine into being a me only. And I think right now I broke out of, I think, the Me Too in terms of just only like doing real estate or only doing music, where I think I'm sort of entering the me special sector, where it's mainly docu content that I'm focusing on, because I won a couple of awards for documentaries. I was like, I can do this. I know how to tell a story through this sort of medium. So I think I'm finally breaking out into the sector of me special, or Me Too special rather, where it's like not totally refined as a me only, because there's a lot of people doing it, but it still positions me more where I'm starting to charge more. I'm starting to show my value reading through, which unfortunately have to come through accolades to some degree, even though artists don't necessarily strive for accolades, but they help. And it's finally, I'm starting to sort of charge more, figure out how I can bring value to projects, and sort of just specialize within that. And then I think 1-2 years down the line, I might be in the me only sector. And that's very exciting to sort of like get my fingertips on in the future,
That's like the me only. When you get there, your income goes up every time you jump up, right? Your income looks a certain way when you're a Me Too business. It looks a different way when you're a Me Special business. And then when you're me only, you just, the sky's the limit, right?
Yeah. Totally. No, I love that. I love it. Just like contextualizing that. It's so helpful, because I remember we talked about this a little bit down the line, and I really wanted to talk about it on the podcast, because it just clicked. Like, that's like, I'm not doing enough to really define what my business does and how it adds value to other people's businesses. And once I started to look at that, it's like, I don't need to shoot real estate. I don't need to do these things that don't pay me that well, that I don't like doing. If I take on a little bit less clients, but they're adding more value to me, and it's transactional, where I'm adding a lot more value to them, where it's not anyone can do this specific service or whatever, you just really see it pay dividends in the long run.
Yeah, don't be afraid to say no to things. I tell people that all the time. like, you know, getting clients, like your roster of clients is kind of like the fast lane on the highway. You know, when like you're on the fast lane of the highway and you're kind of like
cruising,
you leave a little too much space between you and the car ahead of you, and somebody just fills the void.
Totally.
And you're just like, God damn, you know, that's like, you know, when you say no to a customer, you create a void, it gets filled with a new customer.
Yeah.
It's just how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Totally.
don't worry about saying no to customers. Just be really specific and take on the customers that make sense for your business.
Yeah. And then like the customers that you have will influence new customers that you attract as well. So if you're only attracting a certain type of customer, you're only most likely going to attract those types of customers too. And if you don't like that line of work, you got to figure out how to avoid that and get into it so you can continue to specialize and refine your lane.
Absolutely. So once again, that's the 3 kinds of businesses in the marketplace. You know, the Me Too's, the Me Specials, and the Me Onlys. We want to try to get to the Me Onlys. And, you know, refine your audience. You know, try to be super specific on the types of fans or the types of followers you have, because that's going to translate into who's purchasing your products and services.
For sure.
If you have a ton of fans in your audience that don't align with your brand, your messaging, your marketing, or your products, you're not going to have any traction.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to build demand for your supply. You're going to have all the stuff that you want to sell to people. You're not going to sell anything.
And then you get stuck in like a rut and you just think it's like your problem and it's like you. And then like as an artist, you sort of get that degenerative mindset where it's just like, I'm not doing the right things. My content's not good. It's like, no, your content's great. You just don't have the refined audience to connect that product to that audience yet. And that's what niches are for. You know, really targeting, like condensing down, like you might be doing 7 different things of content to sort of build an audience where you only really need to be doing 2 or 3, you know what I mean? And sort of just like chiseling out that statue of marble to really just refine of what you want it to look like in the end. And it's going to start with this big block of 1-ton block of marble, but in the end, it's going to be this amazing statue of what your audience and fans and client base really looks like, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's different for everyone. It's not the same for everyone, you know? So you have to really build that out for what that is for you and what you want for your business or your brand.
Yeah, totally. And I think like you can even enlist like ethos, pathos, and logos a little bit, like the logic behind why you're doing this, the emotion and the credibility as well behind what you're doing, and really start just breaking it down at the baseline and starting up, or even starting at the end and going backwards. Like it's different for everyone, like Jay said. So it's just like figure out what works for you and really just try to like, you know, reverse engineer how you can find a niche and sort of what you're attracted to. Because this is a big thing in film where it's like make the film you want to see that hasn't come out yet. And it transcends to any sector of art. Like paint the paintings you haven't seen yet. Do the comedy you haven't heard yet. Write the songs that you haven't heard yet, you know? And that's how one way if you're struggling to find your niche, it might come in. Because there's definitely going to be like-minded people that will buy into what you're doing as long as it's not like over the top and crazy. But then, you know, that might be your niche, over the top and crazy, or it's laid back, you know? It could be anything. You just have to sort of just look through, weed out, and just really work at it, you know?
Yeah, let your story define and like define your brand. That's gonna like your most authentic self is your competitive advantage because there's no one else like you. So the closer you get to that, or the more you use that as your compass, the more you'll niche, you know.
Totally.
So you know that's kind of where, you know, that's probably the best organic way to find your niche. Just follow your compass. You got an inner compass that tells you what's right and what's wrong, and that'll direct you more than anything.
Yeah, and then if your compass is pointing 2 ways, try going both ways and seeing what works better in the long run. Like you don't have to, you can have like 1 or 2, 3 niches that you're trying to work towards, and like you might notice that 2 of them are sort of falling off. Cut those off and just go towards the one, and then you'll refine your audience, and then you'll find clients, and then you'll start really hitting and growing a following and fan base and whatever else sort of comes with that in the back end.
Absolutely.
All right. On that note, that was episode 3 of the Creative Island podcast. Thanks for listening.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. And if you'd like to be notified of more episodes, please be sure to follow the Creative Island podcast now.
Want access to exclusive content, our community newsletter, live events, and so much more? Visit creativeisland.online today to join the Creative Island community.
See you at the top.